Hey guys, welcome back to Fandom Sage Rewind, where we are discussing movies and series and trailers, all that good nerdy stuff. Today, we're talking about the newest trailer featuring Marvel's new team, the Thunderbolts. What happens when the MCU's deadliest misfits team up? Guys, Thunderbolts isn't just another superhero flick, it's the MCU's answer to the question, what if the Avengers were a little more messed up? We've got killers, we got soldiers, and a lot of unresolved trauma packed into one team. But are they heroes? Or are they just ticking time bombs? Stay with me, because I'm diving into the gritty, chaotic, and potentially epic world of the Thunderbolts. Let's get it. So, who are the Thunderbolts? And why should we care? In the comics, the Thunderbolts started as a team of supervillains masquerading as heroes. Yeah, they pulled a bait and switch. But in the MCU, it looks like we're getting more of an anti-hero squad, kind of like Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, but with way more emotional baggage. So let's break down the key players. First up, we got Yelena Belova. You know, Black Widow's little sister. Assassin, survivor, she's got a killer sense of humor. But can she lead a team of maniacs? That's the real question. Yelena turned out to be one of my new favorite characters that emerged in the last phase of Marvel movies and series. She was a lot of fun and refreshing in Black Widow, and when she was in Hawkeye, I really fell in love with her even more. Her scenes with Kate Bishop are just the best thing ever. I could just watch them in that elevator or talking about making mac and cheese pretty much all day. So I'm excited to see her back, and also within a team dynamic. Whether or not she's going to be leading the team, some reports are saying Bucky, maybe they'll co-lead, who knows, but I'm just glad that she's in the mix and she's definitely one of the main players. I'm excited to see how she operates and functions within a group setting. Florence Pugh, she's one of the most dynamic actresses working right now. I think that she has an effortlessly magnetic charisma about her that I just love. I just could watch her pretty much do anything. So I'm excited to see more of her for sure. Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier. He's got experience, sure, but the dude is carrying more emotional baggage than an airport carousel. He's walked the path of redemption, but now he's teamed up with, well, not the greatest role models. And in the trailer, he seems to be reverting back to some of his old ways, but who knows? Big fan of Sebastian Stan. Love his portrayal of Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier. Captain America the Winter Soldier is still in my top 5 Marvel movies. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, his character development was peak. It was great. His connection with Wakanda and how they helped him break him of the conditioning. Very emotional stuff there that I really wasn't expecting, but beautifully done. His relationship with Sam was really humorous, and he had a lot of deep insight and gems of wisdom to give Sam throughout that series that I didn't really appreciate until a second viewing. And he was a really good support system for Sam. I really appreciated that relationship that they built throughout that series. But at the same time, I see that there is still a lot of work he is trying to do on himself, which makes sense because he was brainwashed to be an assassin for Hydra for like 85 years. And a lot of people still bring up that, you know, they wanted Bucky to be Captain America. And to that I say, Bucky cannot be Captain America. I'm so sorry. He is a murderer. He was brainwashed into doing it, yes, but he still killed a lot of people, and a lot of prominent people. He killed Howard Stark and Maria Stark, and he killed a U.S. president. He cannot be Captain America. God bless his heart. But I still love the guy. Before we move on, who do you think would be better as a leader of the Thunderbolts? Do you think Yelena would carry a team better, or do you think Bucky would? Or do you think they should co-lead together, kind of tag team it? Let me know in the comments who your top pick is. Now, let's move on to the real chaos in this team. You remember John Walker, the U.S. agent. Yeah, the guy that thought he could be the next Captain America and failed spectacularly. His redemption arc is complicated, but here's the kicker. He's got the skill set, he's got the strength, but trust? Not so much. Can he even fit in a team where everybody's shady as hell and trust is everything? But I do enjoy John Walker's character because he's got this edge to him that makes him slightly unpredictable, but he's not a bad person. He believes in justice and, you know, the American ideals, but the way he goes about them is decidedly less honorable than Steve Rogers. But the thing is, there are shades to everything. Not everybody is going to be that idealistic Captain America Steve Rogers level of altruism and goodness. That would be impossible to even expect. Like Wolverine, like he's not a paragon of goodness, but he does what he needs to do for the greater good, but it's definitely shades in there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm interested to see how he may falter, be brash, and he does have a temper. And the person I see getting on his nerves the most would be Red Guardian because they're both emulating that template that Captain America provided and that patriotic hero. But of course, Red Guardian is the symbol of Russia. David Harbour is amazing, by the way. I love David Harbour. And Wyatt Russell is a very dynamic actor as well. So these two clashing, I feel like it's just inevitable. I don't think they're going to even be able to have an exchange without throwing barbs at each other and throwing shade. So I'm looking forward to that because I'm sure it'll be quite humorous. But just like U.S. Agent, Red Guardian does have the strength. I imagine that the Russian version of the Super Soldier Serum was less potent. He definitely has a leg up as far as experience, and as well as his personality is a little bit more agreeable, I would say. John Walker seems to be a little bit prickly most of the time, so I don't see him making many friends. But Red Guardian, he'll probably get along with mostly everyone for the most part, I can see, except for John Walker. I don't see him getting along with him at all. He's got a complex that he really wanted to be Russia's Captain America. He really just wants to be relevant again, period. In the trailer, we do see him looking down on his luck, I will say, to put it nicely. He looks a little haggard. He's seen better days, but he's itching. I know he's just itching for a mission, an adventure, so I'm definitely sure he would have jumped to the chance to get into some good trouble. But I just see a disaster waiting to happen with John Walker and Red Guardian, but we will see. Two more wild cards that I think are actually could be two of the most interesting elements of this team, and Ghost and Taskmaster. Now, they both have some very serious issues from their abilities. One can phase in and out of existence, and the other one is a mind control modified cyber assassin that can copy other people's fighting styles. So yeah, honestly, can these two even function as team players, or are they the most incendiary and possibly the most untrustworthy members of this team? The potential for betrayal is sky high here for both of these two, but very interesting characters nonetheless. Now, Ghost especially, I feel, Ava Starr, she is operating from a place of pain. Her powers bring her pain. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, we see her desperate. The whole movie, she's desperate. It's not like her motivations were evil by any means, but that's what I loved about her. Her general motivations, I imagine, would still be similar or the same, that she wants to cure herself, and she's afraid of this completely unraveling and not being able to reconstitute herself, and it hurts. Like, she is the type, she will operate and act off survival instinct and self-preservation. She will be the one most likely to abandon them, I would think, if they got into a situation. But it does seem, from what we've seen of the trailer, it does seem like she is in the mix and she sticks with them. Again, maybe for self-preservation, because she knows whatever they're up against, that she can't handle it on her own. So she's probably better off with the team. Taskmaster doesn't talk a lot, so I don't know if that will change. I don't know if this will be a gag, like something that is kind of played for laughs, that she is still able to communicate non-verbally or be there and kind of almost read their minds, like without having to be told. That would be actually really funny, because part of that skill set that Taskmaster has is a muscle mimicry type of ability, intuitive aptitude. It's kind of like a mixture of those two, that seeing someone do, and not just fighting style, any physical movement should be able to be replicated. So I'm interested to see how they actually incorporate Taskmaster. I hope they do some creative things with her powers and her abilities and that skill set, because I think that's a very interesting skill set. I've always thought that the muscle mimicry or the intuitive aptitude type of skill set is very cool, because it's almost like anything you can do, I can do, as long as it's not like superpower based or like energy based. So we'll see how that goes, but both of these characters are very interesting, but definitely wild cards. So as far as the members I mentioned so far, who do you think is most likely to betray the team? Do you think that John Walker is giving major villain vibes and still is from previous appearances by this character? Or do you think that maybe Taskmaster still has some kind of conditioning and brainwashing in her? Like, or do you think that Ghost just might go rogue, maybe have her own thing going on by the end? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now things are about to turn up a notch. We're about to get a little bit spicy. So the latest reports suggest that Sentry, one of the most powerful characters in Marvel Comics, will be introduced in the Thunderbolts. And guys, to say Sentry is a powerhouse would be putting it mildly, at least in his comic book iteration. He is a walking disaster. To put it really bluntly, he is a walking disaster. And I mean that in every sense of that word. He is a mess. He was a mess before his powers. He was a mess when he got his powers. He remains a mess throughout his comic book history. He is not Superman. He is the farthest thing from Superman. I do not understand why people continue to say that, because his powers are different. For one, he does have super strength and flight and invulnerability, but that's about it. You know, he has like this whole energy manipulation element to his powers that is totally different. And his personality, the core of the character, is nothing like Clark. Clark is a wholesome, good, idealistic, unrealistic paragon of a hero, which is annoying in its own respective. Now, Sentry is also annoying, but for different reasons. I've never found him particularly interesting. The most interesting thing about him, though, is his dysfunctionality and the mess that he is. He was a drug addict, got caught up in some experimental stuff, and got superpowers, but he is not a hero in the sense of, you know, his mentality is that of a mentally compromised addict and a fearful, skittish liability. I would say a liability, but he can rise to the occasion, but he's also a pacifist, you know, a lot of the times in the comics. He does not want to engage in those type of things. So that great power, great responsibility don't really register in his mind that way. He don't care about that. But he has stepped up many times in the past in the comics, but it's just really not his bag to be on the front line like that. He'll come in on the pinch. The thing about his mental state, though, is really the thing that I'm interested to see how they incorporate it into the Thunderbolts, because he does fit very thematically within this group of characters. He is very broken and unpredictable in a lot of ways and damaged. So he doesn't even understand for a long time about this dark alter ego that he has called the Void, which is, it's bad. It's bad. It's everything that you do not want to deal with a person with the powers that he has. And it's just, he just wants to just destroy everything. I imagine this is going to be a major plot point, but how they portray it, I imagine, will be more along the lines of a mental illness or a schizophrenic type of scenario instead of this actual entity that's inside of him, just for simplicity and more of a grounded kind of thing. And it does give him a weakness. It's not kryptonite, but it's probably better because, you know, you don't have to find it. His weakness is his mental instability. You know, he's kind of like the Hulk, you know what I'm saying? They got around the Hulk's unpredictable rage. Natasha saying, you know, sun's getting low, big guy. You know, they found a way to rein him in. I imagine there will be something similar to that because he is kind of like the team's Hulk. He's going to be a big gun, but you got to make sure that he doesn't go overboard because he could just end up being the big bad at the end of the movie or being used by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by the incomparable Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who is a mysterious character and a very manipulative character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. From what little we've seen from her, I love the character, but I don't like her, but I love to watch her, which is perfect. You know, that's really what you want from this character, because in the comic books, it's very much that. She gives very much that. When she steps onto the scene, you already know it's a mess. It's gonna be some mess. Don't believe about 15% of what she says. And she comes through and she got a tight bod. She spoke in mirrors a lot and power grabs. You know, in the comics, she was a higher up in S.H.I.E.L.D. and she ended up being a higher up in Hydra. So obviously she's pretty intelligent and savvy to be able to navigate both sides of this type of espionage world. So what her end game is and what her goals are remain to be seen, of course, because they are really keeping her motivations and her machinations on the low. But obviously, not obviously, but from what I'm gathering from what we've seen in those trailers is that she has been using these characters. Now she's trying to cover her tracks and clean up something. But where Sentry fits in is where I'm not quite sure. Now, either she sees him as a failed experiment and maybe doesn't think he has any abilities, but they get triggered somewhere in this movie, in this scene here, or she knows that he can be activated or triggered to be that Void, and she's locking them in there with him to use him to kill them. I imagine it's one of those two things, but Bob doesn't seem like he is the type that would really hurt a fly, which I like that they are showing that, because that is very much his personality. So if they can figure out a way to break his control, again, this is having shades of Bucky and shades of Yelena, because they have that red room program too to control them, as well as Taskmaster. They understand what it's like to be brainwashed and controlled, so that gives them another through line as far as the narrative as well. So I like the way this is shaping up. I think somebody took the time and really thought about these characters and how they relate to one another. So I don't take it for granted that these are the characters that we have for this movie, because I think they are rich with narrative possibility, and I'm excited to see what shakes loose. Let me know what you think about this lineup, about these characters, and if you're excited to see the Thunderbolts, and what do you think the asterisk in the titles means? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next Rewind.